The billionaire's lost purse contained enough money to change a struggling single father's life forever, but when he found it beneath a rain-soaked bench, he didn't know that returning it would put his own future to the ultimate test. Daniel Carter had only $23 left in his wallet, an overdue electricity bill waiting on his kitchen counter, and a 7-year-old daughter sleeping in a tiny apartment where the heater had stopped working 2 nights earlier. Yet when he opened the black leather purse and saw stacks of cash, expensive cards, and a diamond-studded identification case, his first thought wasn't about what the money could buy. It was about the person who had lost it. If you believe kindness and second chances still matter, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to SoulTales. Sometimes one honest decision can change a life in ways we never expect. Daniel had learned the hard way that life could take everything from a person without warning. 3 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him alone to raise their daughter, Lily. He had abandoned his plans for a better career and taken whatever work he could find, delivery jobs during the day, warehouse shifts at night, and occasional repair work for neighbors. His hands were rough from labor, his clothes were always simple, and exhaustion had become something he carried like a second shadow. But every evening, no matter how tired he was, he made Lily dinner, checked her homework, and listened to her talk about school as though nothing in the world was more important. That rainy Thursday evening, Daniel was walking home after his delivery shift when he noticed the purse underneath a bench outside a small downtown cafe. The street was nearly empty, and heavy rain had soaked the sidewalk. He picked up the purse, hoping to find some identification so he could return it quickly. Inside, he found nearly $12,000 in cash, several credit cards, a passport, expensive jewelry, and a business card bearing the name Victoria Harrington, founder and CEO of Harrington Global, one of the most powerful companies in the city. Daniel stared at the money for several seconds. His electricity bill was overdue. Lily needed new school shoes. Their refrigerator had been making strange noises for weeks, and his landlord had already warned him that another late payment could mean eviction. $12,000 could erase almost every problem he had. For one brief moment, Daniel imagined Lily sleeping in a warm room, eating a proper meal, and walking into school wearing shoes that weren't falling apart. Then he closed the purse and quietly whispered to himself that someone else's emergency could never become his opportunity. The next morning, Daniel took the first bus downtown and walked into Harrington Global's enormous glass building. Security guards looked at his faded jacket and worn work boots with suspicion. He explained that he had found Victoria Harrington's purse and wanted to return it personally. After several calls, he was finally escorted upstairs. Victoria arrived moments later, visibly shaken. She had spent the entire night searching for the purse because it contained documents and personal items connected to an important family matter. When she saw Daniel holding it, she immediately checked inside. Everything was there. Every dollar. Every card. Every piece of jewelry. Victoria expected Daniel to ask for something. Almost everyone who entered her world wanted something from her. Instead, Daniel simply told her that he was glad she got it back and turned toward the elevator. That was when Victoria stopped him. She asked why he hadn't taken even a small amount. Daniel smiled faintly and explained that he had a daughter who needed many things, but he wanted Lily to grow up knowing that doing the right thing still mattered when nobody was watching. Those words stayed with Victoria long after Daniel left. She investigated his circumstances and discovered how difficult his life really was. She learned that Daniel had been working multiple jobs since his wife died, that he had never asked the government or charities for special treatment, and that his daughter's school teacher had described him as one of the most devoted fathers she had ever met. Victoria decided she wanted to help. She offered Daniel enough money to pay his debts, buy a home, and secure Lily's education. But Daniel refused. Victoria was stunned. She increased the offer. Daniel refused again. He explained that he wasn't rejecting her kindness. He was simply afraid that if he accepted a fortune for doing what he believed was right, Lily might someday think honesty was valuable only when it came with a reward. He told Victoria that he wanted his daughter to understand something money could never teach her: character was what a person chose when nobody was forcing them to choose correctly. Victoria had spent her entire adult life building an empire, but those words reached a part of her that success had never touched. She had money, influence, private planes, luxury homes, and thousands of employees, yet she suddenly realized how little she had done simply because it was right. Still, Victoria wasn't willing to walk away. Instead of giving Daniel money, she offered him something else: a job. Harrington Global needed someone to oversee a new community outreach project designed to provide employment and housing assistance to struggling families. Daniel had no college degree and no corporate experience, but Victoria had noticed something more important. He understood ordinary people. He understood what it meant to choose between groceries and electricity. He understood the dignity people carried even when they had almost nothing. Daniel hesitated. He was afraid he would fail. But Victoria told him that she wasn't hiring him because he had returned a purse. She was hiring him because he had proven he could be trusted when temptation was standing directly in front of him. Months later, Daniel's life looked completely different. He had a stable job, health insurance, and enough income to give Lily the childhood she deserved. They moved into a modest but comfortable home, and Lily finally had a bedroom of her own. Daniel never became obsessed with money. He still drove an ordinary car, still greeted the janitor by name, and still carried the same humility he had possessed when he was counting coins before buying groceries. But the biggest change happened inside Victoria. She began visiting the community center Daniel helped establish. She met families who reminded her of the man who had returned her purse. Slowly, she began changing the way her company treated struggling employees. She created emergency assistance programs, expanded paid leave, and funded scholarships for children whose parents were barely surviving. One evening, Victoria visited Daniel's home for dinner. Lily proudly showed her a small framed photograph hanging above the fireplace. It was a picture of Daniel holding the purse on that rainy night. Underneath it was a handwritten sentence: "Doing the right thing is its own reward." Victoria stood silently in front of those words, tears filling her eyes. Daniel noticed and asked if she was all right. She smiled and said that for the first time in years, she finally understood that the richest person in the room wasn't always the one with the most money. Daniel looked at Lily, who was laughing in the kitchen, and smiled. He had returned a billionaire's purse because it belonged to someone else. He had refused a fortune because he didn't want his daughter to confuse kindness with profit. And somehow, by refusing the money, he had received something far more valuable: a second chance, a meaningful career, and the opportunity to teach his daughter that integrity could open doors money never could. Years later, Lily would tell people that her father was the richest man she knew. Not because he became wealthy, but because when life gave him the chance to take something that wasn't his, he chose to give it back. And that one decision changed 3 lives forever. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still matters, and subscribe to SoulTales for more emotional stories about courage, family, hope, and second chances. Before you go, comment, "Kindness still matters," if you believe doing the right thing is worth it, even when nobody is watching. Because sometimes, the greatest reward isn't the fortune someone offers you. Sometimes, it is the person you become when you choose not to take it.